In a case that is as bizarre as it is disturbing, Hatfield police find themselves at the center of yet another controversy after allegations emerged that one of their own officers was caught on camera stealing women's underwear during a house search. According to the victim, while she was detained in a police cell, her home was searched by officers. During this search, PC Zielinski was reportedly seen rifling through her belongings, selecting a pair of underwear and discreetly stuffing it into his back pocket. Importantly, while his official body camera was facing away, seemingly shielding the act, the woman's personal Ring camera in the home allegedly captured the entire incident. What should have been a standard police search has now escalated into a potential scandal that raises questions about professionalism, accountability, and the culture within the Hatfield police force. Policing relies not only on authority, but on the public's trust. When officers are accused of theft, particularly of such a personal and invasive nature, the damage extends far beyond a single household. It undermines the integrity of law enforcement as an institution. This isn't merely about one stolen item. It's about what the act represents: the abuse of state power, the exploitation of private moments, and the erosion of civil liberties. Citizens are told to trust the police with the most intimate aspects of their lives. Yet here, an officer allegedly used that authority for a perverse and personal violation. The scandal is particularly potent at a time when British policing is already under immense scrutiny. From failures in handling violence against women to high-profile cases of misconduct, public confidence in law enforcement has been steadily eroding. The revelation that officers may exploit searches for personal gratification only sharpens the debate over police reform, transparency, and oversight. The case is already rippling across social media, where critics are branding it as evidence of a police force that has grown arrogant, unaccountable, and detached from the communities it serves. Politicians, too, are weighing in. Local representatives are demanding immediate suspension of the officer and a transparent investigation, not handled internally, but by independent oversight bodies. At its heart, this isn't just about a stolen pair of underwear. It is about the breach of trust between the governed and those who govern by force of law. The public deserves to know whether their homes are safe during searches, whether their rights are respected when they are most vulnerable, and whether those entrusted with power are held to the highest possible standard.
What you're essentially saying is that anyone who rocks up in this country by irregular means and claims asylum is therefore legal, essentially. Okay. So do you believe that there is something called illegal migration?
Every legal expert in this country is calling for safe routes in this country. Where every single safe route is shut by the British government, then you have no choice except to put yourself at risk in the hands of smugglers who are, brutal individual or organization.
Well, you do have a choice. You could go to a different country. I want to pick you up on something you said earlier, though, Mohammed, if I may.
Let me give you an example. A brutal regime from the Taliban in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
If I'm running away from Taliban, my life is at risk, and I stood with the British forces, for example. There is no legal route for me available. So
there was.
There wasn't any
in 2021, when the Taliban took over Afghanistan, there was the Arab scheme. And the Arab scheme
shut down.
Took, no longer, absolutely, because we're 4 years later. We're 4 years after the Taliban. If they've been living in Afghanistan for the last 4 years, and the Taliban haven't...
Let me say this. You see, Britain was in Afghanistan for 20 years or so. They destabilized the country. They occupied the country for 20 years. After 20 years of war, failed war and fair policies in Afghanistan and other countries, they just washed their hands and ran away 3 o'clock in the morning and left the Afghan people in the hands of Taliban. So that's not the way you handle things.
The withdrawal was, of course, dreadful and instigated by the United States. But we did set up a very generous Afghan refugee scheme. It was called ARAP. We had thousands upon thousands of Afghans moved to this country. But it was a time-limited scheme and it has now closed.
With Britain against the so-called terrorists in Afghanistan. They're still lingering in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Uzbekistan, Tajikistan. Not everyone was brought here. And the Arab scheme is shut down just now.
Yes.
There are people who are the Arab scheme.
But of course, Mohammed, you would accept that if there are Afghans who have, for example, found a place to live in Europe in the last couple of years and then want to come across to the United Kingdom, they are already safe in a place like France or Germany or Italy or Spain.
Let me tell you this, Britain has ruled for maybe 300 years or 400 years, the subcontinent, Africa, and many, many other countries. People have a lot of links to Britain, to the United Kingdom.
Yeah, many millions of people do.
Mohammed, you're essentially saying, Mohammed, that anyone from Afghanistan who wants to come to this country should be able to.
Britain is think about the cause of the problems. Britain government, when I say Britain, I refer to the government.
I'm sorry, Britain is not responsible for all the problems in Afghanistan. I'm sorry, that is just not true.
All the problems in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Libya, in Yemen, in Sudan, in Somalia, in Eritrea. Britain is actively promoting.
No. Britain is responsible for the problems, quote unquote problems, in Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, New Zealand, America, Canada. Why is it that some countries that Britain colonised are now some of the most successful and rich parts of the world, and others are not? I mean, you can't say that the places in the world that have been haven't been living under British governance for decades and have run their countries poorly. Why is that Britain's fault?
The particular issue in this country, the particular issue is, the far right and the racists, instigated by the Tories, Nigel Farage, and some others in this country, who comes 24/7, dragging every asylum seekers and refugees in this country and blaming them for every problem in this society. Asylum seeker did not cause the cost of living crisis in this country. They did not cause the petrol crisis, the inflation crisis, the mortgage crisis. These are the day-to-day government. What the government does is they're quite happy with this, the Tories or the Labour, putting the poor people against poor. And then they enjoy it. They wash their hands from the problem and they enjoy it.